Hey everybody, welcome back to Better Workdays. I am your host, Andy Morrison from Real Custom Training. And this week, I want to talk about goals. Have you ever had a boss give you a goal for the year that was kind of vague, that could be interpreted in a number of different ways? And then you get worried, is my interpretation the same as the boss's interpretation? Maybe you're the boss who was given employee goals and then realized when it came time to check in on how they're doing that they had a different understanding of what success in that goal meant to them as opposed to how you were defining success when you came up with the goal. I have run into that in my career. A lot of our workshop participants here at Real Custom Training have shared that they've run into similar circumstances. So let's take a look this week at a tool that can help ensure that everybody, the boss and the employee, are on the same page when it comes to setting performance and personal development goals for the year. And the tool we're going to look at, it's a classic one in leadership development. It's the SMART goal framework. So this week on Better Workdays, we're looking at how to set SMART goals for yourself or for your employees. And as well, we'll look at what do you do when you're the employee getting a goal from the boss? Can you use the SMART goal framework to help yourself out then? The answer is yes. So this week on Better Workdays, setting SMART goals. Now, as always, we are standing on the shoulders of giants, and in particular, pulling from this book, Leadership and the 1-Minute Manager. Highly recommend it. This actually introduces the Situational Leadership 2 model, which I believe for legal reasons they now refer to as the SL2 model. Situational leadership, we have a podcast episode on that. You can go back and watch it. SMART goal setting is a fundamental tool in the situational leadership toolbox. And one of the quotes from that book that I love, all good performance starts with clear goals. I believe this is true. I have found it in my own career, my own personal life, that if you want to improve at something, you've got to have a goal, but that goal needs to be clear. And the SMART goal framework is a way to ensure that the goal is made clear. Now, SMART is an acronym, okay? And let me share first with you what I have seen a lot of people use for the SMART framework. And we're going to use a little variation of it. A lot of the time, people say SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. Those are the 5 qualities of a SMART goal. In Blanchard's book, it's a little bit different, and I like his model better. Specific, motivating. Instead of measurable, they put in motivating. Is it motivating to the employee? Attainable is still there, relevant is still there. And instead of time-based, they use the term trackable, which I like quite a bit. Because with time-based, I think what ends up happening is we just put an end date on the goal. You know, I will achieve this goal by June 30th, 2025. Okay, now if you're setting that goal on June 1st, 2024, well, then you've got a whole year to try to reach that goal. And when you make it time-based, if you just set that end deadline 1 year later, you may not be checking in on it until then. Whereas trackable implies and sets you up to be revisiting this goal, setting up benchmarks, setting up milestones along the way so that you know over the course of that year whether you are or are not on track to succeed with that goal. So for today, we're going to go with Blanchard's framework for the SMART goal. Specific, motivating, attainable, relevant, and trackable. And let's dive into those a little bit more. Now, let's say you get a vague goal from your boss, and your goal that your boss has laid out for you is improve my communication skills. Now, when I run this goal setting workshop in our Supervisory Essentials program, I ask everybody, have you gotten a goal from your manager this year? And oftentimes people will say yes. And when they share the goal, it's kind of like this one, improve my communication skills. Sometimes it's things like develop more empathy or, become more organized. Sometimes it's a little more technical, increase productivity by 10%, things like that. All right. And those goals are good. I would much rather have a boss who's giving me goals than a boss who's not giving me goals. But when you get a goal, you want to make sure that it's attainable. I had a boss once give me a goal. I believe he said, do you think you could double the revenue in the next year? And I was fairly new at what I was doing. And he was the boss. I said, if that's the goal, that's the goal. And then looking at it more closely, I started to feel like I'm actually not sure if that's a feasible goal. So that's an example where that manager Could have, and maybe you would say should have, but could have. Maybe we would have had better results if he had run that goal, doubling revenue, through the SMART goal framework. And so when you get a vague goal like this, improve my communication skills, the SMART goal framework can be a way to flesh that out, make it much more attainable and specific so that you and the manager who gave you the goal are on the same page when it comes to what success looks like and how you're going to go about achieving that success. So let's stick with this vague goal here, improve my communication skills. How might that be improved if you put it through the SMART framework? So here's some questions to ask yourself anytime you're using the SMART framework. For specific, what exactly is the goal or task? Okay, I want to improve my communication skills is not specific as to what exactly the goal or the task is. So you may revise that to say, all right, I want to improve my communication skills by learning how to lead effective team meetings. Now you've got some specificity to it. You're looking to lead effective team meetings. And when does the goal or task need to be accomplished? It's good to have that time element in there. And so maybe you say, yeah, I'm going to do this right now. I'm going to focus on the next 3 months to really start tackling my team meetings and getting better at communicating throughout them. Is it motivating? Is the goal or task meaningful to the individual? Hopefully your boss knows that you want to move up in your career. Maybe you've got roles higher up the ladder in your sights. So hopefully your boss knows when they say to improve your communication skills that has some personal meaning to you as an individual. Is it going to build competence and commitment? If you're asking someone to improve their communication skills, in doing so, can you help them become more competent in their job? And can you help them develop more commitment to the organization? You're going to do that by helping them accomplish that goal, not by tossing them in the water and it's sink or swim. You commit to them, they'll commit to you. Well, working on the goal, add or drain energy. You want it to be something that is going to really, not that you don't have to work hard at it, but when you're working hard at it, does that energize you? Are you excited to be working hard on the goal? Those are some of the questions to ask yourselves when you want to decide if it's motivating. So for improving your communication skills, you could say, yeah, if I can do this, it's going to help me be more confident in my role. And I think that will positively impact my team's productivity. So yeah, I am motivated to improve my communication skills. Attainable. Is it realistic, reasonable, and achievable? This is where, in the anecdote I shared, I thought my boss fell short of just saying, could you double revenue this year? Neither of us, both of us contributed to the problem. Neither of us really did any research into whether that was an attainable goal or a reasonable goal or realistic. And was it within the individual's control? That's the other question you want to ask yourself. In my case, it may not have been. We were heading into very difficult economic times, which certainly is going to affect our sales at the time and the demand for our services. So, my boss and I both fell short in really determining if that goal was attainable. We kind of just threw it out there in a meeting and set it for the year. So you want to ask yourself, is it realistic, achievable, and is it within the individual's control? Now, for the goal of improving your communication skills when it comes to attainable, you might say, yeah, it's achievable. I think I'll need to practice with a mentor. And I think after I lead team meetings, I should get feedback from the participants. That would all help make this more attainable for me. Relevant. Most important. One of the biggest lessons I learned working for Gary Osbury at WINY Radio. I remember Gary told me, and this was probably like not 20 years ago, not that, but like 15 or more years ago. Gary told me he said for WINY Radio, as the world changed around it, he said the North Star for him was always, is our radio station relevant? Is it relevant to the lives of the people in this community? That's, hey, Real Custom Training, the R is for relevant. That really stuck with me. Things need to be relevant to people, or they simply and literally do not matter if they're not relevant. Same thing with goals. Is the goal or task meaningful for the organization? Is your boss asking you to improve your communication skills because that has some relevance to the organization at large or for your department and your role? Is the goal or task a high priority in relation to other goals? If there's other goals that are a much higher priority, then maybe this isn't the right goal to be assigning for that year. So you want to make sure that it's relevant to both the organization and to the individual. Now, if you're running with our example of improving your communication skills, you might say, yeah, improving my ability to lead meetings, it'll enhance the team's efficiency. That's relevant to me. That aligns well with my role as a team leader. And I know for the organization, with the goals they've set for my team and our department, the more efficient I can make them, the more likely we are to reach those goals. So yes, this is definitely relevant. And then lastly, trackable. What does a good job look like at each level of development? How will progress and results be measured? This is really important stuff to be on the same page with your boss about. It's like I said, you don't want to go a whole year without checking in on your progress towards your goal attainment. So even if it's an annual goal and you've got a year to work on it, are you going to check in quarterly? Are you going to check in once a month? Are you going to check in during weekly one-on-ones? You want to be on the same page with your boss there. And you want to be very clear. What does a good job look like at each level of development? So if you're going to check in quarterly, what's a reasonable amount of progress for you to report in that first quarterly meeting? How about the second, the third, or the fourth? How is your boss going to be measuring your progress and your results towards this goal? You want to be on the same page with that stuff. So for improving your communication skills, you could say, I'm going to measure my progress. I'm going to set a target. I'm going to try to lead one team meeting per week. And I'm going to gather feedback afterwards. I'm going to practice with my mentor, and we're going to get feedback. And that will be where we're really tracking results and progress. Are the participants in the meetings I'm leading reporting that I'm doing a good job at it, that things are clear, that there's action steps, that we're following up, whatever the criteria might be? You want to make sure you and your boss are on the same page as to what criteria is going to be used and how it's going to be used to measure your progress towards your SMART goal. So there you go. We just walked through. You start with a goal, improve my communication skills, very vague. Perhaps worthy, but vague. When you run it through the SMART goal framework, you can go from improve my communication skills to improve my communication skills by leading one team meeting per week. There's your specificity. Practicing with a mentor, that's going to help make it attainable. Gathering feedback after each meeting, that also is going to make it attainable. It's going to make it relevant. Okay. And you're going to do that for the next 3 months in order to build up your confidence and improve your team productivity. Now that is how you set a SMART goal. You go from improve my communication skills to a detailed plan that you and your boss can get on the same page with, and make sure that you are tracking it together and working together. Now, in this scenario, if you are the boss, your employee is identified, I'm going to be practicing with a mentor. Perhaps that is with you. Like I said, you don't want to just throw them in the water and say sink or swim. You want to set the goal and have it be something that you can help them and contribute to their success with. When you do that, you're going to be building up their commitment to you and to the organization. If you're the employee and you've been given a vague goal, if your boss gives you improve my communication skills, you may want to go back and on your own time, run it through the SMART goal framework and return to your boss with the SMART goal and say, hey, I put some thought into it. I learned about this framework for goal setting. What do you think? Can we revise my goal? Can we make this my goal for the next year? Would this be suitable? Would this be agreeable? So take your goals, run them through the SMART goal framework. Okay. Is it specific? Is it motivating? Is it attainable? Is it relevant? And is it trackable? Check all 5 of those boxes. You're going to have a much better chance of reaching your goal than if you keep it vague, like improve my communication skills. And finally, from Blanchard's book again, they surmise that SMART goals motivate. They get leaders and the people they lead on the same page. That is the most important benefit of SMART goals, is getting you and your boss or you and your direct report on the same page so that you have the same vision, you've agreed on what success looks like, and you've agreed on how you're going to go about trying to achieve that success. Then you can work together from there to make it happen. So your action steps for this episode, just use the SMART framework. Take a goal for yourself, your organization, or your employee, hey, it's November already. New Year's is going to be here soon. Maybe you want to take your New Year's resolution of, oh, this year I want to lose weight. This year I finally want to get into shape, and make it SMART. Take that vague goal, run it through the SMART framework, and give yourself a better chance of achieving it by bringing clarity to it. You could also share your final SMART goal with your boss or with your employee and work together to make sure that you are indeed on the same page. So, very simple. Put it into action. Take any goal you have, whether it's in your personal or professional life, run it through the SMART framework, and you will have better odds of achieving that goal. That's it for this week on Better Workdays. Thank you, as always, for listening. Be sure to follow us on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok. Don't really know what I'm doing on TikTok, but we are there. And we will be back next week with another episode on a skill, a tool, or a philosophy that you can use to create better workdays. Thanks a lot.